So we're in Mississauga. We're just west of Toronto. We're going to talk about electric vehicle charging in condominiums. This is a very hot topic with the new cars like the Chevy Bolt EV and the Model 3 soon rolling out, that we're expecting to have quite a number of electric vehicles in condos. And they're very concerned, particularly the existing condos like this one, about how they're going to accommodate these vehicles. How are we going to manage the metering? How are we going to manage the control? Those types of things. So we're going to head downstairs, we're going to take a look, and we're going to see a charger installed, we're going to see the panel that we're doing, and I'll have a chance to give you a bit more of an explanation of how it works. Okay, so we're down stairs in the garage. We're actually in the main electrical room. In fact, the panel that we're going to look for, it's not in this electrical room. And I kind of wanted to just bring you down here on purpose to show you why it isn't. If you'll look around here, you'll see that we have almost no wall space. We just need space to put another panel around the size of something like this, and it just doesn't exist. And so when we're coming and we're looking to figure out how we're going to do this, we're looking for this kind of thing. Do we have enough space? Maybe we need to cage another area in outside in the garage to accommodate it. Is this the best space in the garage? And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. It may be the electrical room's at far at one end and would be better to be more central somewhere else. These are all things that we would consider. We have an expertise in this. We've done it many times, and we'll help to deal with the planning. Hand the job to us and we'll take it from there. We're just coming out of the electrical room now. The space that we're looking for is just adjacent over here. So we'll head over and I'll show you what we ended up doing. So this caged in area turned out to be a better location for us for a couple of reasons. I'll show you what it is. This was here to begin with. This is distribution. The transformers, the humming transformers and the disconnects are distribution for the building and for the floors for the residents. So this was a perfect spot. Here's the panel that we've installed. I always get this question. What does it look like? What does the panel look like? So what we're hoping to have is a way to accommodate electric vehicles, both to provide distribution, so where are we going to get the feed from, and a level of control. How many vehicles can we manage to put on this? So in this case, the breakers are all installed. This is the control mechanism and the information for sending metering. The panel needs a 200 amp feed, so we were able to find distribution here. We added this 200 amp switch, some wire, some pipe, and provided this panel. So you can see we have enough breakers for up to 12 electric vehicles. One of these is actually in use. A few of them already, the customer has already reserved them, and they're hoping to be able to have other people connected as demand increases. The unit communicates with the internet and sends all the metering information to both the property manager or to the residents, or frankly to anybody that's got a password for their individual charger. So the person that we'll look at in a few minutes that has a charger out here, they could go on their smartphone, they can see whether the unit's on or off, whether it's how much energy it's consuming, how much average they've used over time, and they even have a small switch on it that can turn it on and off. And in both cases, there's an actual counter, a dollar counter. So we've decided what the kilowatt rating is, or the cost of kilowatts is in the building. We've used that to provide so much per kilowatt hour, and that information is displayed live at all times on the screens. The manager actually has a reset button on theirs. So what'll happen is perhaps at the end of the year they owe $120 or $250 or whatever it is. They'll come up to the office, bring their check, and the manager just clicks off back to zero. They don't have to keep track of it. They don't have to remember. They don't have to remember that the meter was at a certain place last year and they have to deduct one from the other. We really want to keep it simple for the managers and simple for everybody, and provide valuable information. In part, the reason for doing this would be, if I was simply to put in this panel with no control, I would have to assume that every one of the chargers was on all the time at the same time. And I would have been limited to have about 5 or 6 40 amp breakers in the panel. And at that point, I would have a risk of blowing the fuse. Well, that's probably not a reality. People come home at different times. They're away. And it doesn't take all night to charge a car. So how can we incorporate that. So that's what we've done in terms of the control. We're incorporated the idea that let's monitor the feed. As we reach a certain level, let's turn them on or off as is needed in order to try to have everybody have a full overnight charge, which we can continue to monitor because we have this live information. So the panel, in fact, is set up with breakers for up to 12. We're pretty sure that's almost reasonable to expect that we can manage 12. We'll monitor it as we go. If we got to, say, 10 vehicles and we were realizing that at that point, because of the way that building was and the occupancy, that we were not, or we were just approaching people getting an overnight charge, they were just by 6 in the morning, everybody being charged, we may stop at 10. But we allowed enough in the panel for up to 12. Another issue, we talked about it a little bit in the main electrical room, was space. We only have so much space. You could say to me, well, you know, let's forget about all this control and everything. Let's just put in a panel and we'll put 6 meters around it and we will come down and we'll read everything. Well, imagine this panel, even in this space with 6 meters around it. I don't know that we even have physical space here for those meters, and the work that would be involved to read the meters, it's just not practical. We do have condos where they'll do 1 meter or even a couple, but at some point this just becomes messy, it's cumbersome, and we're trying to keep the quality of the condominium somewhere to what it was when it first started. So if you start making a mess, there's never money to take that mess away. There's never money to fix that. So a more sophisticated system and a more streamlined system is ideally the way to go. Typically the condominium corporation has paid for this piece and they've either accepted it as being a valuable thing for the condominium and paid for it, or they're looking maybe in time as each person connects to it to recoup a piece of it at some point. That seemed to be the attitude of most places, but you know, it's a good amenity in terms of being EV ready. This I did get from each of the condos that put this in, thought the idea of being EV ready was a value add, not just for people that have electric vehicles, but for even people that are going to sell their unit, because the next person might want that and they may see that as an advantage. There is a limit. This is an issue that we have to look at in terms of how far we can go. There's something called voltage drop, and it affects the size of the wire, and at some point at about a couple of 100 feet or a bit more, maybe 250, that's about as far as we can go. So we have to think about whether, is this panel sort of central in the garage, or do we need, if it's a big garage, we might need more than one panel, one place, one another to service it. So again, this is something we would look at when we're auditing the building. Let's take a look. We'll go see this charger. It's just a couple of bays down. So this was the first unit that was put on. The customer, as you can see, bought a Tesla. They bought a Tesla wall connector, and in fact, this is the protective plastic. They've left it on, so we'll just leave it on. It's not our charger. One of the nice things about this system, it doesn't tie you to a particular charger. Just because this person bought, say, a Tesla or whatever, the next person doesn't have to buy the same charger. Any 32 amp, 220 volt charger can work. And in most cases, a couple of 100 amps or even 2 of these panels in a building this size, I wouldn't have too much concern. What I would do is, if we filled this panel and the customer thought they wanted another one, I would take a look at the actual load profile of the building with these units in place and make sure that we have enough ampacity. We did actually take a little look at this one originally way back when, and there's just so much spare ampacity, there was really no need to even look any further to go any further. The other thing is, I talked about a 40 amp breaker and a 32 amp combination. This is available, this wall connector can be set up to 80 amps. I could put a 100 amp breaker. We discourage it in the condos. This is working perfectly fine for her. She's getting her full overnight charge. To give somebody 100 amps when that would have served 2.5 other people, it's just doesn't seem a fair way to share the resource. We're in an environment, a community environment, where we have to share these resources. So trying to keep everybody even at, say, a 40-32, which is a very common combination. This is most chargers, that's the setting anyways. There are other choices like this, but the 40-32 combination works quite well. This piece from here, mounting this on the wall, electrical inspection, the conduit back, what have you, this was borne entirely by the resident. She paid for all of this. She bought the wall connector and she paid for all of that. That, of course, again, would depend on how far it is from the unit in terms of the cost. This is really not a lot different than what would be in your home. You would have had to connect to your panel, run some wire. Sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's further. But you wouldn't be surprised that you would have to pay that cost. Now, this charger, we're in the province of Ontario, and this charger got installed by the person bought a car, got a rebate, bought a charger, had this installed and had it inspected. She gets $1,000 back. The $1,000 doesn't come back to the corporation. She paid for this, and it's her $1,000, and she would have got it. The same $1,000 that she would have got if she had a single family home and she installed it in her home, she would get it. So, and each one of these, as they're being put in, as long as they bought the car, bought the charger, and had it installed by a licensed electrical contractor and inspection, they'll all get their $1,000. So that's an added bonus. In this case, it would have paid for this whole wall connector and left a little bit money left over towards the installation. Just wanted to say thank you very much to our friends at the Palace and to Bill Bloxham from Dell Property Management for allowing us to film and to help inform other condominiums and the industry in general. So I'm hoping that this turned out to be informative for you. Feel free to use the video, share it with your board, share it with other managers. This is the kind of information that I repeat several times a day, and maybe it'll make it, give an opportunity to make it easier to better understand charging in condominiums and some of the challenges and some of the solutions that we can offer. You're still, of course, welcome to reach us. If you want to call, you can reach us in Toronto area at 416-490-8093 or anytime peek in on the website at signatureelectric.ca. Thanks.